Yo, what's up? Welcome to my 2019 LCS Spring roster rankings. It's actually been a long time since I did like a roster ranking. I guess last time I did it was last year, and I wanted to do this video for a long while, but I kept putting it off, and now it's almost LCS, and if I delay it any further, it'll be too late. This season, or this off season more accurately, there were surprisingly a lot of changes, and a lot of teams made big upgrades. And I don't think there's any clear teams that I'm gonna say is like pretty garbage. All the teams upgraded in most positions, and the top teams got even stronger, and there really aren't weak teams. So it was really hard to do this roster rankings. And when I heard how scrims were going for some teams, it kind of surprised me, but I did my best to not take scrims into account because, yeah, scrims honestly don't matter that much. And when people play on stage, a lot of things can change. So without further ado, let's start my 2019 roster rankings. So let's start with Tier 1. Tier 1, these are the teams with multiple star players and top tier filling out rest of their roster. These teams are either expected to win the split or come in top 3. So the first team I have is Team Liquid. Team Liquid upgraded from Pobelter to Jensen and from Ole to Core JJ. I think both positions were huge upgrades, and overall they have the best roster in LCS and probably the best roster ever from a North American team. The only team I would say that could contest this would be the old Doublelift Bjergsen TSM roster, but other than that, this is probably the most star-studded roster that any team has ever had. What can we say? Pobelter's always struggled a bit internationally, and TL wanted to pick up big names such as Caps in the offseason, but Caps wasn't really available, so they went for Jensen. Jensen definitely is an upgrade. While he hasn't had any kind of championships, he's had international success, and other than Bjergsen, who could you get that's better from NA? So yeah, Jensen's been a huge upgrade, and Ole was a very one-dimensional support. I thought he was great when he played lane dominant supports that he was comfortable on, like Karma, Thresh, and Bard, and he was a great roam player, but he really was lackluster on most enchanters and also on melee champions. So overall, TL made great upgrades, and I think they're going to be the clear favorites of this season. The only thing that could really go wrong is Jensen and Doublelift not really gelling well. Other than that, I really can't see this team not taking first. So next up, we have 100 Thieves. This is where a lot of people actually disagreed with me, and I know a lot of people had 100 Thieves a lot lower, but for me, 100 Thieves upgraded their roster greatly. So let's start with the most controversial one. From Ryu to Huhi. I mean, I think most people agree Huhi is an upgrade over Ryu, but they don't really rate Huhi that highly because of his kind of down year on CLG, and he's always been not that flashy of a player. One thing that I think you have to give a lot of credit to Huhi is he's a very good enabler, and he's going to work incredibly well with Afro. Those two are very good friends outside of the game, so that actually means a lot inside of the game, and I think the reunion of Afro and Huhi will bring new life into Huhi's gameplay, but not just him, Afro also. Also, a lot of people are sleeping on Onda. I think Onda was 100 Thieves' best player at Worlds, so yeah, I expect a lot from this team. And finally, let's talk about Bang. Bang's coming from SKT, and I know it was a down year on SKT, but it's still Bang. Recently, his solo queue performance and just knowing Bang as a person and the skill level he can get to, and also he's working with Afro, who's going to be doing a very, very good job of enabling him. If Afro can make finals with Cody Sun, I think 100 Thieves can achieve so much with Bang and Huhi in the roster. I'm very high up on this team. The only doubts I might have is maybe Huhi and Onda's mid lane jungle 2v2 early game can be problematic, and also how well Bang will adapt, but I don't think those are going to be really big problems. And this is my other favorite team to win the split. So now moving on, we have the tier 2 teams. These are teams with well-balanced rosters and multiple top-tier players, and they don't have obvious flaws or very, very small flaws. These teams are expected to make playoffs, and they have an off chance to win it all. So the first team we have is C9. I know, C9 lost the offseason again. They lost Jensen to Team Liquid. But every time, like, I've doubted C9, they've always done better. And they're a team that's been more than the sum of their parts. They always deliver performances that I don't expect and just do better. So this time I'm not going to make the mistake and put them third in my power rankings. So Niski for Jensen. I think Niski is a promising player that had a good split in Europe, and also when I was working for teams, I actually researched Nifty because one of the teams I was working for was potentially interested in him. And during my time researching him, I thought he was a very good young player with a lot of upside. And talking to former teammates and former coaches, they had nothing but great things to say about Nifty. So yeah, C9, very easy to underrate, but I'm going to put them a little bit higher than most people. And I guess the biggest question mark for them is, can they find another way to overperform year after year? At a certain point, like, they just kind of have to play to the roster strength, right? And not be that great. But I don't think this is going to be year, and I'm not betting against C9 this time. Now, this is where a lot of things get confusing. So initially, I had TSM here, and it was when I thought they had Grigney. So they no longer have Grigney, or Grigney is kind of taking a side away from the TSM's main roster due to risk problems, and Acadian's actually going to be the starting jungler. So the big changes that TSM made was they let go of Haunter, they let go of Mitty, but they were able to keep rest of the team. They were able to keep Zeben and Bjerg, probably the very, very crucial parts of TSM. So for me, Smoothie is a huge upgrade over Mitty, and I can't wait to see how Zeben does with Smoothie. I know Zeben never played without anyone but Mitty. I think Smoothie is going to be a great fit. Smoothie's shot calling and Smoothie being able to lead Zeben is going to allow them to play and have a more aggressive bot lane, something that TSM was missing a lot. And TSM last year just didn't have an identity. And I think with the addition of Broken Blade and Smoothie, they are going to have a very strong identity and strong lanes that they can play towards. So let's talk Broken Blade. He's a top laner from Turkish League and incredibly hyped. If TSM didn't pick him up, he probably would have gone to any of the LEC teams. So my feelings on him from watching him preseason and what I heard from scrims, I think there's like an overhype around him, and people are gonna expect a lot from him because he's on TSM and he signed a 3-year deal. I think he'll actually start pretty slow and he'll adjust and turn out to be a top tier player. I think TSM overall is gonna be a slow starter team. Especially with Acadian in instead of Grig, they're going to have more parts that they didn't have last year, and they're going to have to work around actually making it work. But yeah, I mean, I'm a TSM homer. I have some questions regarding their jungle with both Acadian and Grig and the unproven Prodigy and Broken Blade, but I'm going to take a jump of faith and put them 4th in my list. And yeah, I do think they are also one of those teams, if they have an incredible good split, they can take it all. We'll see though, we'll see. Now, this is where I actually do change up my rankings. Normally, I had CLG here, but they ended up not being able to get Flame, and their roster overall is kind of disappointing for me. And I'm actually going to put Golden Guardians here. So Golden Guardians, they upgrade 3 roles, and Haunter and Froggen and Ole joining the team. These are incredible upgrades for the team. They went from a joke to almost being guaranteed playoffs and maybe having a chance to winning it all. I had a lot of questions regarding how I thought Froggen would do and how motivated Haunter and Ole would be. Seems like Haunter and Ole are incredibly motivated to take revenge on TSM and Team Liquid, and Froggen, from what I heard in scrims, has been more than capable. So I actually am going to rate Golden Guardians a little bit more highly than I had them before. Overall, though, I do think this team has a lot of ceiling in how strong they can be individually and also how good they can be regarding macro. None of these players on the team are particularly that well known for their macro or late game, so yeah, there are still some questions about it. I think this will be a solid team, but we really do have to crack them open and see how they do in LCS before giving them any more credit. I just cannot place this team any higher. Now we have tier 3. These are the teams that have decent rosters across the board, but 1 or 2 questionable aspects, and it really prevents them from being placed any higher. These are the teams that are fighting to make playoffs. So first up, we have CLG. So CLG, there was actually a lot of hype around them getting an import top laner and an import mid laner. They did end up getting one of the most hyped import mid laners in Power Beeble. I personally don't like Power Beeble, but Power Beeble was definitely the 3rd best mid laner in NALCS last year behind Bjergsen and Jensen. So what can we say about CLG picking up Power Beeble? A huge upgrade over Huhi. And Wrigley was a player that a lot of teams wanted, and he would have made it onto an LCS team if CLG didn't promote them. And it's another NA player that CLG can build around, so I think Wrigley is a great fit for the team. So the parts that I'm kind of disappointed about is them keeping Darshan. CLG openly looked for other top laners. I mean, there was a Jacob Wolf report about them talking to a few EU top laners, and I know for a fact they talked to Flame, and they ended up just sticking with Darshan. So this team, what I'm afraid for them is mainly top lane, and also how Wiggly is going to do. Even though Wiggly is an incredibly hyped up rookie, he hasn't played on LCS stage before, and Power of Evil is very, very particular, and he has a lot of instructions regarding how he wants jungle to be played. So when Power of Evil and Acadian were on the same team, sometimes they would have arguments such as, Acadian, you didn't fucking buy pink ward. How the fuck can I play mid lane when I don't have a pink lane, or I don't have a pink ward from the jungler? So yeah, I'm very interested to see how they mesh. But if the parts on this team can mesh, I actually do think they'll be incredibly strong. I'm very confident about Stixxay and Biofrost being good. Biofrost really stepped up last year in terms of shot callings, and them just continuing that bot lane synergy, I do think they are going to be pretty strong. It's just, I'm worried for Darshan, and I'm kind of worried for Wiggly, and I'm not sure how this team is going to function as a whole. So I can't really rank them any higher than 6. So yeah, CLG is the first team in my tier 3 team. So next up we have Clutch Gaming. So Clutch Gaming is the team that I think a lot of teams are going to really actually disagree with me on ranking them so lowly. So Huni and Piglet are incredibly strong players in terms of firepower and laning prowess, in terms of carry potential. I think they're actually one of the best top laner and AD carry when it comes to being a pure carry. But I don't think that's just what League of Legends is all about. There's so many moving parts and so much other skills that are required, and both players have kind of failed to improve upon those aspects during their time in NA. And I don't think putting them together where they're playing on the opposite ends of the map is going to make it any easier on them. Also, North American mids have just not fared well. I'm kind of disappointed with Demonte, because I think he's going to be in a very, very weird spot where he's not going to be getting a lot of the resources, and a lot of the resources will go towards Huni and Piglet, and Lyra had a down year. So you have 3 Koreans on the team with very strong idea on how the game should be played, and Demonte kind of stuck in the middle, so I'm not sure how things are going to work for him. As for Vulcan though, I'm very hyped on. He did incredibly well when he went over to solo queue in Korea during the off season, and I've heard nothing but good things about his work ethic and his play. I've actually heard good things about Demonte too. It's just hard for me to rate him highly due to the position that he's going to be put in. And yeah, this team is a team with incredibly high ceiling but also incredibly low floor, and over the course of the season it's very important to have consistency and a core philosophy and like a core playstyle you can build around, and I'm not sure what that playstyle is going to be for this team. So yeah, I actually have Clutch a lot lower than where a lot of people have them at 7th at the end of the season. So now we have Echo Fox. Oh man, Echo Fox. Echo Fox is very similar to Clutch in terms of they have a lot of firepower with Phoenix and Rush for mid and jungle, but I also do think they're going to be an incredibly dysfunctional team. Phoenix said he would want to join a team in the offseason that can help him beat Echo Fox, and he ended up joining Echo Fox again. And Apollo and Hakuo, their stock plummeted compared to last year. And their top lane with both Solo and Lorlo, I coach both of them. They're good, serviceable players, but they just really haven't popped off or improved a lot during their time in LCS. So yeah, this team, man, what to say. I know I'm going to get a lot of crap for underrating Rush and how good he is. League of Legends teams nowadays in North America, we talk about how NA is a for fun reason, but across the board, like, teams have been, some of the top tier teams like Team Liquid, TSM, 100 Deep, they're running 3 imports. There's no weak links in these teams, and teams with clear weak links and a high potential to be dysfunctional like Echo Fox, I think struggle a lot to really compete versus these top tier teams. So yeah, I have them in 8th. Now we have tier 4. These teams are, I would say, in a rebuilding phase, and they have little to no shot at making playoffs. So first up, we have FlyQuest. FlyQuest upgrades mid lane with Pobelter. While he's not a star carry, Pobelter is more than capable of holding his own and performing in North America. The really big disappointing spot is their top lane. They got Viper from Team Liquid Academy team, and Yeah, I mean, what to say? As much as I'm friends with Flame, I don't think anyone can argue Viper is a downgrade from Flame. Maybe in the future this roster can look good. I love what they've been able to do with Centauran, and I think Turtle is a franchise player for them, and JJ has shown good development. Although he's been a little bit inconsistent with his playtime due to his wrist injuries. I'm really worried for FlyQuest. I have a lot of friends on the team, and I know they're kind of the revenge season mode along with Golden Guardians due to Povalter getting kicked off from Team Liquid. What can I say about them? I think their roster is going to get along. I think they're going to perform well together. It's just they lack a lot of firepower and experience compared to the top tier teams, and I'm so sorry, but I'm going to have to make you guys ninth. Lastly, we have Optic. Oh my god, Optic's offseason was kind of crazy. They ended up picking up both Meteos and Dardoch. And for their mid lane, they got Crown. For their bot lane, they had Arrow return. Arrow kind of became a free agent, and he ended up returning to Optic. It seems like neither party really wanted to be with each other again, and they both looked out for better opportunities, but they ended up with each other. It's kind of like Phoenix Echo Fox situation with a lot less drama and a lot less bullshit. And their top lane, they ended up staying with Dokla. I'm super disappointed about this team, honestly. I think they're going to be dysfunctional. I don't know why in the hell they picked up Crown. Crown is like a grinder. Crown is a former world champion, and he got to that status by grinding out solo queue games. He's someone that had 4K solo queue games played in the season while he went to Worlds, competed in playoffs. Like, this guy is a crazy grinder, and he's so invested into League of Legends. I think when he plays with rest of his team, he's going to realize, like, the North American culture and the expectation for North American players are much different, and he's going to be incredibly frustrated. Yeah, I just cannot see this team working out. This is mental boom team for Crown, and yeah, Optic, man, I'll eat my words if they make playoffs. I just don't see them making playoffs in any kind of situation. There has to be so much blow-ups from the other teams, and Optic has to come together in like this miracle way. It's just not happening in my opinion. Optic's gonna be 10th, maybe 9th, maybe 8th, but no way they place any higher than that. So yeah, that's my NALCS 2019 spring roster rankings. Let me know what you guys agreed on and what you guys disagreed on. It's really hard to do roster rankings nowadays. The team strengths are very much so up in the air, and any team can really take it and go way up in the rankings, way down in the rankings. We'll see throughout the season. You guys can always check out my content on this YouTube channel. I stream on Twitch, as you guys all know. And also, guys, please subscribe. It helps me so much when you guys support my content. Subscribe to me. One last thing, I'm not crazy. I'm just loco. Deuces.